Hello, Dawgpound South campers. This is the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Steve Gill. Not a lot going on right now. We've got a week from tomorrow when rookies report, and then a week from Tuesday veterans will report, and then they'll all head up to West Virginia on Wednesday of next week. Not a lot going on, kind of quiet. So you're getting all the what the one deal each team needs to make, and ranking fantasy rankings for starting quarterbacks, and all the fill-in garbage that sports talk radio. What's really causing a little bit of a kerfuffle this past week, and I heard this, the radio program called Unsportsmanlike. I listened to it before 8:50 comes on at 8 o'clock my time. I turn my computer on, my desktop back here behind me, and the radio keeps it awake. I do it mostly during tax season, so I can get on my computer right away, answer a question, fill out a form, do something for a client. But I listen to it. I don't mind ESPN 850. Rizzo is humorous. He's a little younger than me, but he's humorous. Grew up a Browns fan. Goldhammer is a little annoying, but hey. As someone who has a psychology degree from Vanderbilt University, I can tell you he is an extremely insecure human being. And Paul, Chris Oldak, he's funny. So, I enjoy listening to it. It's noise in the background. But before they start at 8 o'clock Central, I get to listen to a little bit of Unsportsmanlike. And the most recent program caught my ear because they were talking about 5 best fan bases, and one listed them and didn't list the Browns, and another one of the hosts said the Browns fans were the best fans in the NFL because of everything they had to go through, all the garbage, all the losing the team for 3 years. And then Chris Canty made the outrageous statement that, if the fans supported them, they wouldn't have left, which is the most stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Having lived through that part of the Browns history, November 6th, 1995, I was a Brownsbacker president, Middle Tennessee Brownsbackers back then, and I knew it was coming. I'd been on the internet since about 92, and I'd already started following certain writers in Cleveland. And several of them already had a pretty good idea before the season started in 95 that Modell had something up his sleeve. And a couple speculated that he might move the team. In so much so that steps were made to hurry up the process of building a new stadium. In so much so that they even extended the sin taxes to, and they put it to a vote, and it barely won. I'll be honest with you. It was like 52-48 or something like that. It barely passed before the season started. I think it was in August, but still, it passed. At first, they were going to make Progressive Field, then Jacobs Field, a multi-purpose stadium. It was going to be baseball and football, but they decided to just go on baseball. And of course, we all know the history. Modell made bad business moves, signed Bad Moon Rising to a huge contract, which he did not have the money for. He got overextended. He even borrowed money from the NFL. That's why he had to sell the Ravens to the current owner, because he couldn't pay back the NFL. A lot of people don't know that. But back then, I did all I could to keep the Browns in Cleveland. I knew it was coming. I watched the news conference. ESPN covered it live. And I watched it from a parking lot in Baltimore. And I can't remember who the writer was, reported that Modell, before the season start, met, I think it was at Burke Airport on a jet with the governor and the mayor, governor of Maryland, mayor of Baltimore. And nobody paid any attention to it. Oh, well. So let's look at Chris Canty. And after we come back here in a minute, after these commercials, let's take a look at Chris Canty's so-called reasoning that the fans did not support the Cleveland Browns, and that's why they moved. We'll be right back. Okay, so I love to Google. I am a Google fanatic, and you can find just about anything you want on the internet. So I went back and I thought, well, so Mr. Canty thinks that the Browns fans didn't support their team. So let's go back to 1993. Week 1, 1993. Attendance, 75,508. Yeah, that's pretty good attendance for Municipal Stadium. Now you got to remember, this is Municipal Stadium. It held about 80,000 people. Week 2, they had back-to-back home games. When's the last time that happened? 78,218. Then the next home game, week 6, 78,138. Next home game, week 8, 78,118. Week 12, 71,668. Now, what Mr. Canty has to realize, and all this happened before there were Baltimore Ravens, what he has to realize as the season gets later, it gets into the holidays, and it gets really, really cold. And that old stadium on the lake was no joy to sit in December. Believe me, I've done it a couple of times, more than a couple of times. But still, okay, so let's look at 1994. Their first home game was week 2, 77,774 people. And you got to remember, 1994, they went, I believe they won 11 games. Belichick was the coach, made the playoffs, won a playoff game against New York Giants and Bill Parcells. So week 3, the next home game, 62,818. Week 5, over 76,000. Week 8, over 77,000. Week 14, the last home game, over 72,000 fans. So let's look at 95. 95 was, they started, they won 3 out of their first 4 games. They were 4-4 after 8. And that's when Modell made the announcement on November 6th. And after that, everything just fell apart. I believe they won 1 game remaining of the season. Fans were not happy. But, there were rumors before the season started that they were going to move. Fans were reading about this. And they averaged a home game about 64,000 fans, even though the fans are angry. So you look at their first home game, week 2, 64,578. And you skip down to their last home game after the move is announced, 64,400. So even after the fans knew, and they mostly came just to protest. I mean, let's face facts. That's what, the fans were extremely upset, and they should have been. Art Modell was a jerk and will always be a jerk and should never be in the Hall of Fame because he perpetrated the largest heist in U.S. history. He stole the heart and soul of the city of Cleveland. So, but still, week 4, 64.5. Week 6, 64.8. Week 10, 64.876. Last home game, 64,400. So, Mr. Canty, I beg to differ. Browns fans love their team. And your compadre on the unsportsmanlike program is exactly right. Browns fans are the best fans in the NFL, probably in all of sports. We've put up with a lot of crap over the years. I mean, everybody's seen the jersey with the quarterback listing since 1999. Think about that. Think about all those quarterbacks. Also think 1-31. We survived that. Finally, we get an owner who finally believes that to win football games, all you do, and this is my philosophy on NFL owners. It's always been this. They need to do two things: wave at the crowd and sign the checks. That's it. Keep your nose out of everything else. Wave at the crowd, sign the checks. So finally, Jimmy and D, I think D Haslam has put the reins on Jimmy more than anybody. I would beg to differ that she's probably, of the two of them, more business football savvy. And I have a feeling she's the one that is pushing this new foundation. Jarrell, my compadre here at the Fanatical Elves Network, brought this up a long time ago. The Browns are building their foundation, and I love that. He is exactly right. They're building that foundation to be a winning franchise again. I know it's been a while since they've won a division, 1989, back when it was the AFC Central, but good things are looking up. Team is looking up. Roster is loaded. And they have the best team. They have the best fans in the NFL supporting them. So that's it for today. Next Sunday, we'll talk a little bit about training camp gets started. I have a new article out on Fans First Sports Network. It talks about 4 position battles I am looking at in training camp. Just to give you a hint, right tackle, number 6 wide receiver, number 2 defensive tackle, and number 3 linebacker. Why you notice there's no number 1 in all that, except for the right tackle, but that all depends on Jack Conklin's help. That's because this team is deep and talented. All right. Thank you for joining me today. This has been the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. And we here at the Fans First Sports Network, we thank you for watching, listening, and following, because after all, we're Browns fans just like you. So thanks again, and enjoy your day. And everyone,